I'd jeopardize the welfare of the planet just to settle my personal grudge with Superman.
We just come off of doing the Batman animated series when we did Superman, and the first thing we looked at was the villains, and immediately realized that we were going to have to pump them up a little bit. We went back and did some research. Obviously, the main villains that everybody knows, Luthor and Brainiac, basically pretty easy to adapt to our show. But then once you get past Luthor and Brainiac, the next level of villains are characters like Parasite and Metallo, and they've got decent visuals, so they give us something to play off of and interesting powers. But then once you get past them, suddenly you're into the realm of 50-year-old guys, a little bit overweight, wearing business suits. So we had to put our thinking caps on and come up with ways of making them visual and dramatically interesting.
You look at Superman and you say, okay, what could give him trouble? Concentrated light, that can give him trouble. A really great big charge of electricity could give him trouble. Might not kill him, but it'll knock him through a few walls.
The rush, the power.
His most effective villains are those people who find out what it's like to have an element of power, and not only do they misuse it, but they also make innocent people suffer for it. And that puts them directly in opposition with Superman. When they go up against him, they will lose.
Coming up with the things that resonate for longtime fans, but also appeal to a newer fan who doesn't know about that history.
Come, let's look you over.
You can't just fight him with brute force. It's more interesting if you can fight him with intellect. And the smartest guy in probably all of comics is Lex Luthor. And he makes the best villain for Superman.
I would call that an understatement.
Luthor, for many, many years, he was just a mad scientist, and then he was like the renegade mad scientist in a supervillain suit. And then we kind of amped that up to the point where we actually said that he basically owns most of Metropolis.
He wanted people to know that Lex Luthor created Metropolis. After all, why would you build a giant skyscraper in the shape of a big L in the middle of town? You know, you want to sign your work.
He's basically the king of Metropolis. And then suddenly, Superman shows up. You know, this town ain't big enough for the two of us. You know, one of us got to go. It's going to be you.
I think I have something to say about this.
A lot of the appeal of the character, I have to give credit to Clancy Brown, who plays his voice.
Quiet, please. The missiles will never make it here.
He'd originally auditioned for Superman, but when he came in, he was just perfect as Lex. He was incredible.
I prefer to investigate this matter firsthand and alone.
He had this amazingly smooth, suave bit of class to him, so he was like half brute and half classy guy. It was a really good combination, and it just played it to the hilt.
That's coming out of your pay.
So we need to get Lex Luthor.
Great.
We got the story outline for the first episode where suddenly Brainiac's on Krypton. Well, in the comics, he didn't come from Krypton. I was initially reluctant to do it just because I'm very much of a purist, and I said, well, everybody knows Brainiac doesn't come from Krypton, and then I stopped and said, well, no, nobody knows that.
The idea that he might have been an AI presence on Krypton, that he was partly responsible for everybody not listening to Jor-El, so that he could take time to save himself from what was going to happen, was really appealing. And I really pushed for that because I thought, well, this is a way of really giving the series a different spin right off the bat.
This is a really omnipotent being. This character has the ability to go out and absorb intelligences from all over the universe and then destroy them. And then he's got all of their information. He doesn't feel guilt. He doesn't feel anything. And that could become very dry. That could become a very boring performance if it's not handled in a very delicate way. And so we had to think physically how to depict it and vocally how to depict it that kept it interesting.
I calculated we would meet again, Countdown. So I designed some improvements.
But did give Superman somebody with a bit of a history to hate. I mean, he's clearly right up there next to Luthor in terms of arch eneminess.
Who am me? Where am home?
Bizarro goes way back in the comics, at least the 50s, and every series has to have the evil twin episode, right? You know, so, what better way to go than, a guy who's wearing Superman's outfit.
You don't look so good.
Leave me alone!
He could do anything Superman could do without any of the judgment behind it. Bizarro doesn't necessarily know he's doing something wrong when he does it. He's just literally thinking the first thought that comes to his head.
I'm gonna stop missile. Krypton need missile.
first started off as a pretty decent clone of Superman, where he was good looking and smart and strong, and of course started to lose his intelligence and his good looks and, became this pathetic wretch.
We are not scrapping the project for one glitch.
Luthor created him and he's not perfect. And yet, does the guy deserve to live? Bizarro certainly thinks so, but Luthor just looks upon him as a failed experiment.
What am me?
Bizarro, that's what you am.
Because Bizarro is a character that looks like Superman, we thought, let's let the guy voicing Superman, Tim Daly, do the voice of Bizarro.
Superman! Me am happy to see you.
Likewise.
Bizarro let Tim Daly just go nuts. Gave him a chance to just let loose and be weird and energize things that he would never be able to do as Superman.
Me am Superman. Sorry, my friend, but you am toast. Metallo in the flesh.
Metallo is powered by kryptonite. So while he is a very strong robot who can cause a lot of damage on his own, the fact that he's got the kryptonite radiation weakening Superman when we're flying the ointment, if you will.
The big problem with Metallo is he's too powerful. All he's got to do is open up his chest and, okay, show's over, Superman, you're dead. We had to really bend over backwards trying to come up with ways of keeping Superman in the game, so it wasn't just, okay, I give up, Metallo's here, I'm running away.
Nice spacesuit. When I'm done with you, you'll wish you were on the moon.
Gave him the anti-kryptonite suit, which is the big lead suit. As long as Superman knew Metallo was coming, he'd have a chance to go to Star Labs and get the anti-kryptonite suit, which of course would always get destroyed in the course of the episode, and then you're right back at square one. Malcolm McDowell really nailed his personality.
My new friends from Intergang found me right where you left me. Dug me out and fixed me up as good as new.
There's this superiority attitude that Metallo has that I thought he embodied really nicely.
That you think you got me? Well, surprise!
Mr. Mxyzptlk?
No one had used that version of him in so long, it seemed fresh and new to just go back and redesign that a little bit and tweak it, but basically it's the exact same design as was used in the comics from the 40s.
Superman! You, my friend, are the ultimate challenge. We're gonna have many merry games, you and I.
In a weird way, Mixie almost kind of thinks of himself as Superman's pal. Without me around, life would get pretty boring, and I don't really want to kill the big lug, but I do kind of like tugging on the cape every once in a while.
Mxyzptlk is all-powerful, really. I mean, he's one of the most powerful beings in the entire DC universe.
Superman always outthinks him. He can always trick him back, and that drives him nuts.
How does he do it?
Personality-wise, he's very much the way he is in the comics. He's just that annoying little imp from the fifth dimension that, you just want to strangle.
For centuries now, I've been pitting my interdimensional magic against schmoes who thought they could go 15 rounds with the old master.
It was a real stroke of luck getting Gilbert Gottfried to play him. That was a big plus.
Kill Tim sees him! Gosh, you're thick! Now for the last time!
Other characters, looking at what they did in the comics, sometimes we just did not have a good visual. I mean, Toyman was the most extreme example. Toyman didn't give us anything from the comics except for the fact that he used toys as weapons, which is a really good gimmick.
To me, the redesign of Toyman was the most fun. Basically, the idea came from this old ventriloquist doll that they used to sell in catalogs. And I guess a lot of people on the crew either remembered that or like me, actually owned one.
That was like a really great way to go with him. It was kind of eerie and creepy look, and this whole childlike persona, which was almost more like a Batman villain than a Superman villain. But that was all fine, because he did have the big, insane robotic toys that he could punch Superman around with, so that was all good.
He's probably one of the most disturbing redesigns, I think, of all of the Superman villains. He's not connected to what was already established in the comic books at all. He's a totally new interpretation of that character.
Parasite is not much different than he is in the comics. He's basically this guy who's got the ability to drain Superman's powers. There you go.
When he touches you, he also gets your thoughts. So he knows who you are and what your secrets are.
Don't be afraid. I know how to control my power.
That's what they all say.
Parasite is kind of like the wish fulfillment villain. He's like the guy who's powerless and yet he's envious of somebody else, so he'll take whatever he can get from somebody else. And the fact is that he can rob Superman of his powers and his memories, so he becomes a bigger threat. He can defeat him physically, and at the same time, Superman's mind is an open book to him, because there goes the secret identity. And the more power he gets, the more drunk on the power he gets, and the more he can't handle it. So he's a villain who can often be defeated through his own greed.
A few instances where we did create villains from scratch that didn't exist in the comics, we certainly wanted to create villains that were more visual and had more powers than the run-of-the-mill Superman villains like Livewire and Luminous. They're a little bit more science fictional in nature. They have extra powers, so they can conceivably be a genuine threat to Superman.
Looking for me, Livewire?
Well timed, Super Jerk. Let's rock!
We wanted to create a very strong female villain. The fact that we had a female shock jock who was out there throwing bricks at Superman made her interesting. Here was a character you can't totally dislike.
Uh-oh, not using plastic seal is broken.
Of course, once you became Livewire, it was just all about just being evil and just hating Superman and just wanting to kill him. Which is fine, that's a perfectly good motivation for a villain.
Suddenly, she's in a position to emphasize everything she said about Superman. She can go after him in a big way.
Let's get to the heart of the matter.
I've always loved Lori Petty's voice. I thought she was able to make that character cute as well as bizarre, because the character's been infused with hundreds of thousands of volts of electricity. That's gotta screw with your head a little bit.
Maybe this is the real deal. But then again, maybe it's me. Or me.
Luminous wasn't even Luminous at first.
No, not sure.
He was just this guy that Lois had spurned and was using nefarious ways of taking her out. And again, that was a very low-key kind of story. It was more of a murder-to-be mystery. But then when we brought him back, we upped him to supervillain scale and gave him his light and hologram powers. And definitely much more of a physical threat to Superman at that point.
See you soon. Even if you don't see me.
I don't really know exactly how we figured out how to keep the suspense going and still keep credible threats without everybody having kryptonite bullets, but somehow we managed it.